I'm gonna be.
You.
Good morning, everybody. Today is the 18th of November, and this is our periodic FFLGuard client call. Thank you all for joining us. With me from the FFLGuard Cognizente, I have Brother Brian, of course, coming to us from Florida. His dutiful cohort companion, Ms. Lindler, coming from South Carolina. Nice to see you back in your home after you were washed out for some time. And also from client relation teams, Michelle. Hello, Michelle. It's nice to see you. I see going across the top of my screen, Mr. Bouchard, our ATF liaison. And then I see Ms. Tennell joining us down from Texas. Hello, Alexis. I like
Hi.
that FFLguard.com backdrop. Michael Franzak back from his river tour of Europe in October. Came back to good news in the presidential election. So welcome back. Trent, out there in the Midwest, Kansas City, doing his insurance thing. Good to see you, Trent. And last but not least, from Lexington, Kentucky, not Louisville, Lexington, Kentucky, Hank Yasek, our business fella. Nice to have you all here. Obviously, a lot has happened since we last met. There's a possibility that we now have a country for the next 4 years, which I was excited about. So that was probably the main primary exciting event that happened from last call to this call. At the same time, as we all know, at least internally, nothing's changed at ATF, at least not yet. That wouldn't happen until next year, and then even next year, it'll take some time to what's the word I'm looking for? Unfuck? Can I say that on a
No,
I can't.
no,
They're gonna report me
no.
to HR.
Yes. I'm
Unscrew,
taking notes.
unscrew what has been done. So, ATF is still going to be a work in progress in the year 2025. However, I'm hoping that our political and personal and professional connections here on this call, at least from FFLguard, can help facilitate change at ATF, positive change. There's plenty of positive things that could happen there, and hopefully we can be on the inside of some of the changes. And in fact, I've had a few phone calls in the past couple of weeks about that. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes. That being said, I will first turn over to, since Franzak is coming off a 2 week, layoff where he got to reboot and recharge and re-enter. I'm gonna focus on you. I'm gonna drop the first hammer on you and say, what do you have for us on your itinerary? What's going on other than the fact that things are still me and you are still busy fighting the good fight.
No. Good morning, everybody. I got a bunch of things I want to cover today, just things that pertain to inspections that results that we're seeing in the last couple months. I jotted down my notes to talk about things, but first of all, I just want to mention everybody that I did have a couple conversations with some ATF employees, higher ups, and it's still same as for them right now. The current director is informing them that they are not stopping anything right now, despite the elections. They are going to continue to pursue the revocations that they have to of FFLs. It's full steam ahead, and based on my conversations with these ATF employees, they think it's mainly because that he might be bucking for a job with the Giffords or any town or somebody like that. So it is. So just be aware that it is still full steam ahead despite the recent elections. And so you can't let your guard down now. Still, you have to keep being cognizant of, of the record keeping and keep pushing on. So regarding record keeping, I just want to mention a few things that we're seeing, and just on recent inspections that we're talking about, and we're seeing some things that shouldn't even come up during inspections or on our site visits also, but they are. And a couple simple little things like inventories. There's still some people not doing inventories. You've got to keep doing inventories quarterly. So that's one thing I wanted to push out. Second one I made a note is we have some FFLs who aren't posting the Youth Handgun Safety Act notice. It's very simple. Put it up, and that's it. You won't get cited for it. And that's the ATF. It's capital I, 5310.2. And it's easy. You can print it off. You can get it requested from ATF. It's free as ARDO forms from ATF. So that's one thing. Second one is a simple one, is the secure gun storage or safety devices. Make sure they are available. This is a violation. ATF will revoke for that. That's it is a revocable offense now if you don't have that. So of course, a lot of manufacturers send those, but if you're not, you've got to have that available. So, and we're seeing some findings regarding that. Remember, there are exceptions to the NICS background checks. One is a sale between licensees, not between licensees, a sale of a firearm where someone presents a valid state permit that's not expired. Remember, it can't be expired if you use it. Even if it is valid when you get it and somebody's delayed, and upon that final transfer, if it became expired, you can't use it. That would be a revocation violation. So make sure upon examination that concealed carry permit is not expired. You can do a transfer of a firearm to another FFL is another exception to the NICS. A return of repaired firearm to that same individual exception, not to another, not to a spouse, not to a brother, sister, son, daughter, whoever. It has to be to that same individual. Remember that. Sale of firearm to law enforcement, of course, as pertaining to 478.134. Transfer of firearm, replacement firearm. If somebody goes back to the manufacturer for whatever issue, they send another one. Again, that's a replacement firearm. That's okay. So just remember that. And there's a key one too. We still see this. I know for a fact I mentioned this on one of our calls, is the transfer of an NFA firearm. That's okay. However, if it's got a integrated suppressor within, say, that rifle, you have to do the background check also on the rifle. The suppressor's already been done by ATF, but the rifle has to have that background check. We're still seeing that, and that'll get you jammed up. So make sure you do that background check on the rifle. However, it's just NFA only, just a suppressor only, say, that's okay. You don't need to do a NICS background check. That's an exception because the NFA check was done by NFA branch, so that you'll check that box. Just wanted to talk about that just to make sure everybody's clear, because those are items that can get you jammed up and possibly up for revocation. Identification documents. We constantly have questions on identification documents. It's, as everybody, Brian, Alexis, and Avis know, it's constantly identification documents. What's the one thing it has to be? A valid government identification. Clear as clear can be. Supplemental information, a valid government document. Government, key thing, local, state, federal. That's the key. I don't want to go into the details of that, but remember that. And even and again, I know I mentioned this one too. Look at the 4473. In that document itself, it talks about the documentation. So make sure you look at that too. It has to be a valid document, government document, that is. Let me get my other note here. Acquisition information. We're seeing a lot of FFLs who have not timely entered in acquisitions into their A&D book. And we're also seeing that of that information that gets logged in, the information's not correct. So we're seeing a lot of different, the serial number, sometimes I can understand that because it's the way you view the serial number. I've had some FFLs say they invested in some high-powered magnifying glasses that they use to see that serial number if it's a hard to see one. So just keep that in mind too. That does help immensely. I don't know if your phone will be able to pick that up. If you can, maybe it can. But remember that to get that information in, and it has to be entered in at the close of the next business day. So that's the other one too. We're seeing people not even they log it in. It's not even timely. So just remember that. 7 days for dispositions. So dispositions, we're still seeing that also, not having dispositions timely logged out or logged out at all. So that's a key one there. These are just the simple ones that can be eliminated, but they build up and they build up. And if they continue after each inspection, that's when ATF can come back and say, well, you willfully, here's the term willful, with some of us have seen, that you saw this violation and you continue to have these same violations. You know their laws and regulations, but you continue to have these same violations. And if they're increasing in number, that's a real big issue. So you can't have them increasing either. You have to cut down on those violations, but you have to do your own internal audits at times. Make sure you're doing those internal audits. Have that review, not just of the same day. Have it at the end of the month. Maybe somebody looks over the forms again to see if everything's completed. You don't have any entries that are omitted. We're seeing a lot of omissions also on the 4473s. That you can't have blanks on the forms. You need to have all those completed, and that's a simple. I know we say it's a simple review, and when you're busy, it's hard. But have somebody else before that transaction goes out the door. Have somebody else take that form, look it over for the sales associate. Start from the back and go to the forward instead of going from the front to the back. Start from the back and go the opposite way. It's just a change of eyesight that you may be able to pick things up. That's a very helpful way to look at it also. And the last one I want to talk about violation-wise is we're seeing, again, and it's constant, multiple sales not being reported. Remember, it's at the end of that business day, not the next day. You can't report the next day. And remember, if you're electronic A&D book, the system does not send it for you. You have to go into that system. It's there, and then you can send it. You can email it out, but the system will not send it for you. So don't think that your systems, electronic systems, are sending those multiple sales reports in for you. That's not happening. So you've got to do it yourself. And we've had some people learn that the hard way. But make that point to go in there at the end of the day. If you have electronic, a lot of you can do it right on your phone from your house if you have to. That's the beauty of the electronic systems now. You have that, it's peace of mind also for a lot of those blank. If you have the 4473s, you have, a lot of times now, help is hard to find. It's hard to get those people who have that passion of want to be able to do a good job. They just want the money sometimes, and they're careless. So the electronic 4473, if you have a lot of firearm sales, gives you a little bit of a peace of mind as far as the entries. You're not going to be any blanks, and it's also going to stop the sales if certain information is filled out a certain way or is a blank. It's going to stop the sale. So if you don't have the electronic ones, you have a ton of 4473s. You're still doing it manually. I'd beg you to get the electronic one if you can, because it'll give you a peace of mind, and it also helps you your employees. It'll help them a little bit too, because they've got human error is there. Human error is everything, so it'll take that human error away from them to some degree. You still got to do your checks, but that human error will be taken away for those blanks and other issues regarding the 4473. Last thing I got, remember that started October 1st, you're on those border states, the long guns, multiple sale requirements for manufacturers and importers. That applies to you also too. So make sure that any of the manufacturers, importers in those border states or Southwest border states are complying with that requirement now also. So that's it for me, Mr. Chris.
Unmute. Okay, thank you. Nice to see that you've come back into the fold. We missed you. I know you and I have to work this afternoon on a written submission hearing. And I know that, like I said, we've been pressing forward with defense of our clients. So until further notice, we stay on point with what we're doing. I will turn my attention to Alexis, especially since I see you corresponding in the chat with some of our clients. What's going on with you directing operations?
Thanks. So in the chat, I did drop the links to the Youth Handgun Safety Act poster and the pamphlet. Like Mike said, the pamphlet has to go with every handgun as well as that trigger lock, and the poster has to be posted. You can order all of them for free from ATF distribution. So definitely there's no reason to spend your own money for thousands of copies of the pamphlet. Hit up ATF, they'll ship them right to your door. It is a slow shipment process, but you will get them for free. The other reminder is we do have an upcoming webinar on Friday about, really everything you can expect with the new Trump administration, what we're hearing, what we do anticipate, all of that with a whole group of experts. So if you haven't registered for that, I dropped the link in there for that. Couple follow-ups too, multiple sales reports. We see it all the time. Here's the big thing. If you're not getting a response back when they are emailed, it wasn't received. ATF always issues a response when multiple sales reports are received. If you didn't get it, it didn't transmit. So check your email address you're sending it to, go through all the steps, but if you didn't get a response, they didn't get it. So that's a good way to know. Also, too, let's see, first of the year is coming up. It is a great time to stop and review your license. Has there been any change in control for your business? Do you need to update your responsible persons? Who are the responsible persons, right? Again, your insurance, Trent's on the call. I know he'd be more than happy to talk with any of you. Do you have the insurances you need? Are you ready to roll for the coming year? Especially if you've changed any of your operations, maybe you've got a new business channel, definitely look into what your needs are for that. Also too, SHOT Show is right around the corner, folks. We'll be sending out some emails reminding everybody, hey, if you want to book an appointment with us, here's your opportunity. But also don't forget, if you want to have a place to eat for lunch, book your lunch appointments now, get that open table going, otherwise you'll be standing in line. But we've changed booths this year. We'll be on the main floor. You can see us at booth 14730. So again, that's a change. That's where we'll be this year. And in the future, we'll be sending out those links for you to book appointments with us. So take a look for those. One last thing as well, going on to what Mike said, 4473s, things like blanks, missing information. I cannot express enough that if your software isn't catching that for you, you have an issue. And if you're not using software, you're spending way too many labor hours to check and usually still end up with mistakes. So I'm a huge proponent. Let technology do the heavy lifting. Let your labor dollars and hours go into great salespeople, and find a software that is working for you, not against you. Software should be making those checks, should be doing those things, and your team should still do a final follow-up. Software doesn't consider every possible scenario. But if your software isn't making those checks for you, ditch it and find one that is. So ta-da! That's all I got for you.
Most appreciated. And so everyone knows, not that I'm any better than anybody else in FFLGuard, because it's all for one for all. but I will be there Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And Wednesday morning, I will be meeting with ATF. So if you want to connect with me in some way, shape, or form, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday would be the days to do that. Thank you, Alexis. I will shift gears over to Mr. Bouchard, our ATF liaison and OPSEC specialist. What's going on in Washington, D.C., and what's going on at ATF? You always seem to know.
Well, just a couple of things. First, Alexis, if you can get back on, we owe ATF the topics that we want to discuss that Wednesday. So I've got to
Yes,
give
sir.
them something by next week. So get some info.
We'll be sending out an e-blast
Okay.
requesting that. So sorry, I forgot. You'll get an email. We'll say, hey, send us your questions. What would you like us to engage ATF around? That'll be coming out either later today or tomorrow. Please respond. We do have that short window to collect that information. So please get those questions in immediately. Sorry, Mike.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, with ATF, the director he'll obviously leave, and the career people will likely stay around. They've been through this before. Probably not quite the same situation, but as far as ATF, I don't think there's going to be much problem there. All the police chiefs want ATF engaged, particularly with violent crime. So I don't think you'll see the law enforcement side suffer much. The regulatory side is we'll have to wait and see what they want to do. The career people, as I said, will stay around. I think the FBI's got a lot more to worry about with going through their ranks and their executives than ATF will. So I don't think you'll see much of a change from ATF, except on the regulatory side. One thing I was asked to cover is if ATF comes in and is going to seize something for evidence, or you have something that's contraband that you shouldn't have, they can take it, but they have to give you a receipt for it, and it's called release and receipt of property or consent to forfeiture. So whatever you give them, make sure you get a receipt for it. It'll say exactly what the item is, why they're taking it. It'll explain what's going to be done, if they're going to send it for forfeiture, that type of thing. So make sure you get a receipt. And finally, holiday season, the shoplifters are very active. They take advantage of the large crowds and distractions. So it's probably a good time to remind your staff, pay closer attention to people who are in the store just seeming to wander around and not really interested in buying something. So just good time to remind your staff. Pending any questions, that's it.
Thank you, Mike. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next coming years, you saw the administrative arm, the inspection arm of ATF split off and moved elsewhere. That would not surprise me in the slightest. So we'll see what happens there. Let's pivot over to...
Hey, Chris, real quick.
Yeah.
And Mike Bouchard's aware of this. A lot of FFLs, you should be aware of this too. Again, when you have a changeover from Democrats to Republicans like this, and ATF knows this, you have the roller coaster effect, up and down, hiring, budget. So right now, when the Biden administration, ATF's had a lot of hiring going on, those agents and IOIs, and a lot of attorneys also, to be frank. And also their budget was good. Now they had some budget taken away by the Appropriation Committee because of the Biden administration's inspection tactics. However, now you got Republicans coming in, so probably the next 4 years, their budget is going to be pretty slim, and the hiring will go down. There won't be any hiring hardly at all. So they'll have to, and it's a way that the Republicans like to keep the ATF, tamed and down pretty much. So does the gun industry. The gun industry is powerful. I can't see an ATF being eliminated. It's happened many times, and Mike Bouchard knows this. It's happened many times. There's talk about that, but it's easier for the gun industry to keep ATF small, budget unfriendly, personnel low. It's easier for them to deal with that, and instead of them morphing into like Homeland Security or FBI. So this is just another, this happens all the time. And the political structure that is, the United States, it's up and down, the roller coaster ride. And that's what ATF will be on now. Now, how that affects the inspections going forward is a good question. We'll see. It's going to be, I suspect it's going to be same odds. They'll tweak their admin action policy. But to what extent, I don't know. I think they'll still pursue revocations for things, but it might now be given back to where it used to be, where the division, where the director of ministry operations and council and the SAC now have that ability to make those decisions instead of going through the director like the Biden administration wanted. They may give that back to that division to make those smart, educated decisions instead of having to go through a certain policy of an administration. So that I think is where it's going to go, but we'll see. But I think if you've been inspected a lot, and you may see a lot of people again leaving ATF also, that's a possibility. But again, I think the budget will be down, and they may not be as the inspections may not be as frequent because there's not going to be hardly any hiring going on. So we'll see.
To your point,
My
Mike,
2 cents.
the devil you know is better than the devil you don't, is usual MO for the gun industry. So while they like to MF ATF, they still rather have them, as you say, under their thumb. So we'll see. We'll see. Okay, pivoting. Brother Brian, client relations team, Brian, Avis, Michelle. What's going on in the world of the new dashboard, the help desk, you name it.
The biggest thing really that we haven't touched on yet, Alexis pretty much hit on everything, but we are going to be moving over to Teams. This is going to be our last Zoom webinar. So please keep an eye out in your emails for a new link. We assumed, Chris, that normally November is usually our last webinar of the year, right?
Yeah, man.
We're not gonna plan another one until pre-shot and then post-shot like we did last year. So that's really my only note to throw out there. I've been traveling a lot, having a good time, meeting with people. Gonna be on the road every week till Christmas. So again, if you're a corporate client, a manufacturing client, a distributor, get your free visit in from me. Let's do it. Avis, do you have anything?
The only thing I wanted to mention is if you need help with the new website, because sometimes we do, please just let us know. Send us a quick email to client relations at FFLGuard, and we'll be happy to make a call with you, walk you through everything, just to look at things, just to make sure you're getting all the bells and whistles that are there.
And that, to be honest, that goes for anything FFLGuard, right? That goes for not just the help desk and stuff like that, but so many times when people are renewing, I'll get phone calls, be like, yeah, remind me again what I'm doing, like what I can get out of this. Like, I don't remember. So please be in contact with us, reach out and touch us. We will be happy to tell you all the things that you are entitled to. And the one thing that everyone forgets is that, well, I guess when Brian says all the time, when people say, I don't even know that I used you last year, Brian says, how do you word it? You say it well, something to do with, well, you didn't use Allstate either because you didn't crash your car. But if you crash your car, that would have been your first phone call. And we give you a hell of a lot more than your insurance company does. No offense, Trent. No offense. But that's a perfect segue into you as the insurance guy. Bottom line is we do try to proactively help and assist our clients more than being the reactive service, which is, holy shit, they're here. What do I do? So with that being said, I welcome my friend Trenty out in KC. I think I referred you a couple people. I think you sent somebody my way too. I think we've had an active referral.
That sounds right.
In the past month. What's going on out there?
Yeah, well, thanks for that segue with insulting as your segue. That's wonderful. But no, we'll take it. Everything's good. Everything's good. I walked up to my deer stand the other day and walked up on B-Buck at dark. And so just sat in there and kind of froze for 4 hours. So besides that, the weekend was great. So just some things to point out. I was talking to Brian and Aaron this morning about, you know, what to talk about subjects. And I think one of the things that comes up is business income worksheets. We've seen a lot more claims lately, and also when companies have a business income and extra expense coverage, there's often not a lot of homework and usually just throwing things at the wall. We have carriers that are requiring worksheets be completed, and the reason you do that is because there's co-insurances tied to that. So if your numbers aren't accurate, you're typically going to see numbers much lower or coverage much lower than what the actual should be. So we'd be happy to send somebody a worksheet, or even go through it with somebody and go through that. Other things along with property insurance. I know I keep harping on this, but it's a big deal right now with prices, and we're just getting creative every way we can. With stock is a big thing, way we can kind of carve out stock and add some other coverages in different ways. So and drop pricing. So there's some good things happening out there right now. General liability is steady Eddie and strong. That's the one that's been the scariest in the past. We're just got a lot of carriers working on it. We're working on getting other ones in. So I probably kept that under a minute. How'd I do?
You did pretty good.
Okay.
And you didn't have to compress it. We would have given you the floor for as much time as you needed. I will tell you
Less
that.
of me, more of you.
Now, nobody wants more of me, trust me. But I thank you for that. And as a side note, I will let you know that I just became the proud owner of an additional 20 acres in upstate New York,
Nice.
fixed to my home. So I have a nice big wooded area now behind my house that I could do fun woodsy outdoorsman stuff.
Probably $2,000 an acre, I'm sure, up there. Yeah, it's cheap.
It was a little more than that because the guy had me over a barrel. He knew I wanted it, so I wasn't going to say no. But either way, I don't care. It was worth every penny. It doesn't matter. Right, Brian? And Brian and I on Thanksgiving are going to be blazing some ATV trails, and I'm looking forward to that.
Maybe I can get Lyme's disease again.
Yeah, everyone gets Lyme's disease but me. I don't know. I'm impervious to that. But in any event, since time is ticking away, I don't want to short our business guru, Mr. Yasek, from any time. How you been, bud? And
I've been doing great, and I'll tell you, October, I've probably seen more phone calls from folks going, "What the hell's going on with the industry?" Because yeah, I for those of you on the call that may feel like you're alone in all this, October sucked for the industry. It was down tremendously. I think a lot of it was I called it the big inhale before the elections. Everyone wondering what's gonna, what the outcome was gonna be and all that. And from a retail perspective, October was horrible. November's not shaping up to be a whole lot better. And I just bring it up just to let each of you know you're not on an island if you feel like your business is down as everyone else is up. And it's just, the tail of the tape of, moving into are we going to see the Trump slump of 2016 again? I don't think so. And there's a whole lot of reasons we can talk about that. If anyone wants to have a chat with me about it, I'm more than happy to. You can reach out to me. The basic market itself, though, average gun prices going across the counter are stable. Rifle prices are stable. Ammo prices are pretty stable. It's just that the volume is down from that perspective. And with that, and this kind of dovetails into a lot of what's been talked about today. I see a lot of shops now talking about diversification, moving into other silos of business inside of our industry. And the big one is gunsmithing. I hear a lot of folks calling out to me asking, "Hey Hank, how do I add gunsmithing to my business?" And I want to take a minute on that. It's not as simple as carving out a back room area and having one of your guys start slapping pieces and parts on there. From an insurance perspective, you got to connect with your insurance provider and make sure you're properly covered to do gunsmithing work. Also, from a type license, do you have a type 1? Do you need to move into a type 7 license? Chris and his team can really get you up to speed on what type of license is going to be best suited for your business. And this is the one I really want to underscore from an operational perspective, and I see this happen a lot. I talk to folks about gunsmithing, and the biggest one is and I'm not trying to sound mean. There's a lot of naivety about the difference between gunsmithing and gun manufacturing. You need to know the difference, because if you're not operating one out of the proper type of license, you may get yourself into some hot ATF water. And number two, the documentation of, if you're actually manufacturing firearms, you may not know you're manufacturing firearms. There's a whole nother slew of documentation and processes that you have to make sure you're crossing your T's on and dotting your I's on. And, I would hate for you to be coming to Chris and team already in violation because of naivety. So make sure, if you're going to be moving into that gunsmithing or armorer's work type silo, that you really get your ducks in a row from an insurance perspective, from from a compliance perspective, so you know the water you're wading into. I can't underscore that enough. Chris, anything? I saw you nodding your head. Anything you want to add to that from that perspective?
Only that we face the manufacturing versus gunsmithing thing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And our MO is usually to say, just get yourself an 07 just to be safe anyway, because
100%.
the definition of manufacturing is a very fluid one. So what may be manufacturing, like Cerakoting wasn't manufacturing once, but then it was, and so things are constantly changing. So when I heard you talking about that, I would tell you that if that's something that is concerning anybody on this call, they should definitely reach out to us, and we can definitely help them down the road. And at the end of the day, everyone has to remember that my personal mindset is, the more FFLs you have that we help you structure, because we want to give them different DNA strands, the better off you will be. Because the easier you make my job, which means less stress on you if something goes sideways. So look, all I'm saying is, you're right, Hank. That's the other thing. I know that it has sucked for many people in October. And I agree with you. I don't know that the Trump slump is going to revisit us in this second term. I actually think you're going to see some freeing up of a lot of regulations. I would love if the Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act gets through. That would be spectacular. I would love to carry in other states, although I have 32, but I'd like 50. I'd
Well,
love
the big difference moving into this Trump administration compared to the last one, and why I say I don't think we're going to see the same kind of quote Trump slump we saw in 16, particularly for folks that are in business since that time and didn't really know that time. Dealers were buying 3, 4, and 5 times the normal level of inventory they were normally going to carry, because everyone thought that Hillary was a lock to get in at that point. And so everyone thought it was going to be this crazy market selling tons of guns at premium prices. And I personally know retailers that bought 5 times the normal inventory that they were, ready. It was on the shelf in their back rooms, ready to roll for the day after the election. And then Trump got in. And so you saw a period of time where people were fire selling inventory to pay bills because they had so much cash tied up into the point where I know retailers that were still clearancing through Trump era inventory when COVID hit. And that was the big one that cleaned their shelves off finally. We didn't see that behavior in the market space where people were buying huge gambling levels of inventory. So we're not going to see this post-election crushing low price people putting stuff on fire sale. So we're going to see a much steadier market in this administration, just from an economics perspective. Never mind a legal or ATF restructuring or regulation perspective.
One thing I want to say from an operations standpoint, though, every new business channel you look at, you need to consider obviously your entire business plan, but you need to have a contract for your customers, right? You need to have that legal agreement that you enter into your customers when you're offering that additional service that really outlines what you're going to offer, what their expectations are, and to be sure that your business is protected, right? Especially with gunsmithing services, working on those firearms, changing them from their original configuration. We live in a very litigious society. A great agreement goes a long way to protect your organization so that you don't have to call Trent and say, hey, we need a little help here. Or call FFLGuard and say, they say they're suing, right? Little agreement goes a long way. Please consider that before you jump into that new business avenue.
Agreed. Agreed. Michelle, you're the only one we didn't talk to today. Any words of wisdom?
No words of wisdom, but if I just keep calling for the after your renewal, the check-in call, just to make sure we have everything up to date on the account, so you're covered by your plan. That's all that really comes from me right now.
So when Michelle gives you a jingle, that's a good opportunity to say, hey, by the way, what about this? What about that? Can you help me? And even if Michelle doesn't know it off the top of her head, she'll say, I'll have Avis, I'll have Brian, I'll have somebody, Alexis, whatever, give you a call and help you out. So yeah, I do love Michelle's check-in calls for that reason alone. Again, Trent, I don't know that you're making check-in calls, pal. Not to disparage you in any way, just saying. Capiche? All right, that's it. And you know what? Let's do, Avis, I think you suggested January 13 as a pre-SHOT Show call and maybe February something. Third as the post-SHOT Show call. I'm good with both of those. In the meantime, everyone's going to receive an email from Alexis that's of high priority to me, maybe not to you. Probably today, I'd like maybe to get it out that says, hey, any topics you feel as though we should be addressing with ATF at our Wednesday meeting during SHOT Show, you don't even have to, you can just respond with the topic. You don't even have to go into like the weeds on, hey, how you doing? How's your family doing? Babe. No, just, you can respond with, whatever your question for ATF is, and we will certainly address it in the time we have with them. And even if we don't have the time during the meeting with ATF, I'm literally, to be honest with you, at this point in my career, I'm literally going to talk to all of them offline all day long, all the time. So if it doesn't happen in the official ATF meeting, it's going to happen during SHOT when I have them there and I get to, see them offline. So with that said, I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas. And we will speak again in January. Good? No more recording, Bri?
Yep, ending recording.
Karen Strickland, call me later.